Hello and welcome to Hops and Brews. This week,
We're probably a little bit late, but we're talking about a beer style that's relevant with the month of May. It's a very long intro. Whew.
For an open window on a craft beer world, Max and Chris from Ups and Brews. Ups and Brews. Welcome to Ups and Brews.
Alright, so this week we're taking a look at Maibock, a German-style beer, very popular in the 13th century and still around today. I'd say it's a little bit like the Pilsner, but a little less popular in the sense that you still see Pilsners everywhere, and a lot of craft breweries in Ontario and Quebec and Canada in general make them. But the Maibock is kind of more specific, and when a brewery does it, it's usually in the month of May.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why we're talking about it is special request from our good friend Nathan at Nathan Does Beer that asked us this fantastic subject out there on the Twitterverse. So Nate, this one's for you. But my little intro into Maibock, it's actually in my first lines of craft beer when I started drinking. A brewery here in Quebec called Les Trois Mousquetaires is brewing and was brewing a Maibock back in the day that was known to be very good, and I drank a lot of this one. I really did enjoy the style when I got first introduced into the craft beer verse. Alright, so history-wise, Maibock, where does it come? It comes from Germany, but a specific region called Maibock. So mostly Maibock is known to be Bavarian, but the specific region, Maibock, is known to be kind of like the mecca of the German beers. Maybe I'm stating way too much on this. It's probably not true, but what it means is that where they were located, they had access to very good fields, grounds to grow malts, grow hops, also very soft water, and access to different ports to move the beer around across the sea. So they had access to a lot of knowledge at the same time. Because of that, they were able to develop lighter malts. Lighter looking malts, if I'm not wrong on this end. So what means is that when they first started traveling this style that was prominently brewed in the month of May for springtime, then when it showed up to Munich, a brewery called Hofbrau in Munich, which is claiming that they brewed the first Maibock, was commissioned by royalties over there to brew it the Maibock way. Not in the darker style, but in the lighter colored golden style. Overall, it's a very historic style. It's very much implemented in Germany, and to this day, Bavarian breweries are tapping the first keg of Maibock on every May 1st each year. Crazy, right?
Very crazy. Super crazy. So a couple of points to touch on. I'm not really going to talk about the science behind this because there's no real science. It's historical brewing. It's the same process as any other. I will mention that it is German engineering and German brewing, so everything was probably to a T calculated 3 times and perfected with every single iteration, every single brew of that beer. Hofbrau is one of the biggest brewery in Bavaria. I went to the Hofbrau house in Munich, which was pretty interesting. Interesting breweries. Hofbrau, very cool.
But Maibock is lager, Max, right?
Yes, it is a lager. So, to go back on the Maibock, another word for it in the BJCP would be Helles Bock, or a light Bock. Helles, contrary to what you would think, just means light, a lighter version of the Bock. The original Bock was made in Maibock. The reason why you see a lot of goats with those beer, a lot of goats are associated with Maibocks, with double Bock and Bocks, is because of their pronunciation of Maibock. Maibock, with their dialect, is pronounced Maibock. And Maibock roughly translates to billy goat. So that's one of the reasons why you see all the goats behind it. Now, the tradition or the history says that those beers were so potent in alcohol, were so high that you would literally fall off your chair as if a goat had kicked your chair. So that's why the goats are there, and that's why that style I think is still popular. Like it was marketing before actually using marketing, where the story is so awesome that everyone wants that beer.
Yeah, because
that is so high in alcohol that's going to kick you off your chair.
Yeah, and for a May beer, Maibock is still like high in alcohol, high ABV from what we're probably used to here in America. So doing this beer every spring just to keep the Bock thing going, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And Maibock was Maibock, and yeah, I think especially that one was made for special occasions. So special occasion translating to let's get fucked up. Like we haven't seen each other for a while. This is the event. This is that wedding. Let's brew a Maibock. Let's get fucked up. So it's kind of the mentality behind the Maibock and the Bock style. I've had a few. We had one of our sensory class at school where we had a bunch of Bocks. Not my favorite, but not bad. Like Maibocks, the advantage I think is they're a little hoppier than most beers from Germany. So if you want something a little different than your traditional Pilsner, Maibock can be a good alternative for sure.
Yeah, because Maibock is usually built around like a nice, bready, strong malt base, and like you said, a lot more hops than your usual German beers that you see. So, and like you said,
it's still noble hops or off noble hops. So it's still your kind of not American. Wow, I think it comes the opposite. European, more floral, herbal hops. But there's something to be said about a Saaz that is fresh from Hallertau versus a Saaz that we get 3 years old in America. There's a very potent difference on the quality of the hop. And I've had hoppy European beers from the source that are completely different than when you get here. They're not necessarily your IPAs and your overly juicy beers, but aroma-wise and flavor-wise is a lot purer than what we would brew here.
I'd love to see that a little bit more here. People moving on to not just revisiting more classical styles with the knowledge that we have now about the freshness of the ingredients. So let's say like cryo Saaz, why not? Using the techniques we have today and get it as fresh. Go ahead.
On a last note before we leave, Germans are very specific on their style and their way of brewing, with the whole Reinheitsgebot and whatnot. And they're also, their whole shtick is to do the same beer and redo it a million times and do it better every single time. They're not very experimental, which is kind of sad. Not sad, but kind of sucks, Like I'm sure if they put their minds to doing, an American IPA, they would probably revolutionize the world of American IPAs. So it'd be nice to see a German version of American beer, how they can brew it and how they can do it. Now, there is a couple places in Germany, especially the brewing schools that are experimenting. They've been doing some pretty cool stuff. I don't know where I was going with that.
It's a very cool Germany update that you're doing.
Yeah, I guess. Anyways, I got a big headache right now, so concentrating on what I'm doing, kind of hard. Anyways, but it would be nice to see a German version of American beer using German hops and see what they could come up with, kind of merge the two together.
Yeah.
Our teacher, John Downing, the brewmaster at the college, is actually working on, kind of splicing recipes, taking a base of one and a base of another and molding them together. And he started doing that with German-style beers. And I think he sent a few to some of the schools there so they can try it out and try to see, okay, well, you can play around. It's okay to do something pure and something perfect, but sometimes it's fun to just, mess around. I'd say all the batches of beer I've done, I've always kind of made my own recipes. I always, go online, see what they use, but then I make it my own. Even if it's not a hop that's traditionally found in a saison, I'm going to try it out, see what happens. It's fun to experiment, and there is a place for both mentalities.
I think it's the way to go. Creativity always wins.
Definitely. But if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments below which subject you'd like to see in the next episode of Hops and Bros.